Righto people, take 3. I've had a little bit of a tongue tie. I might get through today's session, I might not. Bear with me if I'm making mistakes. Just count how many. It is a very cold and miserable day outside. So I hope you guys are all snuggled up doing your schoolwork and reading books. Definitely reading books. And staying well. It is day 7 of lockdown. Don't know when it'll end, but at least we have our awesome book to read. We're about halfway through, so let's get into it. Amiee Dubois, 7:18 a.m. Amiee gives up calling Rufus. There are 3 possible explanations for why Rufus isn't picking up, ranked from greatest hope to biggest fear. Number 1, he's ignoring her but will call her back. 2, he's blocked her number and has no interest in reaching out. And 3, he's dead. Amiee goes onto Rufus's Instagram, leaving comments on his pictures, asking him to call her back. She charges her phone, raises the volume and changes into an old t-shirt of Rufus's and her shorts. Amiee has gotten into exercise ever since becoming a Pluto. When she originally snuck into her foster parents' room looking for something to steal from Francis, who gave her the weakest welcome, she spotted Jean Laurie's bedside dumbbells and gave lifting a shot. Her own parents locked up for robbing a family-owned movie theatre inspired her kleptomaniac urges, but Amiee discovered working on herself made her feel more powerful than stealing from others. Amiee already misses going on runs with Rufus while he rides his bike, and she'll always think back to the time when she taught him to do a proper push-up, and she has no idea what comes next. Mateo, 7:22 a.m. I keep running down the block far away from Rufus. I'm last friendless, but maybe dying alone is an okay end of day for someone who's lived his life pretty alone. I don't know what Rufus was involved in that led to his friends being arrested. Maybe he was hoping to use me as some alibi, but now I'm gone. I stop to catch my breath. I sit on the stoop of his daycare and press my palm against my aching ribcage. Maybe I should go back home and play some video games, write some more letters. I even wish I was still in high school and attending one of Mr. Kalampuka's classes, because he always made me feel seen. Though sharing a chemistry lab with kids who were always texting while mixing chemicals was terrifying. Even last fall when it wasn't my end day. Matteo, Rufus is riding his bike down the block, his helmet swinging from the handlebars. I get up and keep moving, but it's no use. Rufus pulls up next to me, swinging his left leg behind the seat, and then hops off his bike. The bike falls to the ground as Rufus catches me by the arm. He looks me in the eye, and when I realise he isn't pissed, but instead frightened, I'm absolutely certain he isn't how I end. Are you crazy? Rufus asks. We're not supposed to split up. And you're not supposed to be a total stranger, I say. We've been together for several hours now. I sat down with him at his favourite diner, where he told me who he wanted to be if he had years ahead of him, but you're apparently running from the cops and you've never mentioned that once. I don't know if the cops are actually looking for me, Rufus says. They gotta know I'm a decker, and it's not like I robbed a bank, so they're not gonna send me the entire force looking for me. What did you do? Rufus lets go of me and looks around. Let's go somewhere and talk. I'll give you the full story. The accident that killed my family and the stupid thing I did last night. No more secrets. Follow me. I'm choosing the place. I mostly trust him, but until I know everything, I don't want to be completely alone with him again. We walk in silence into Central Park, passing early risers as we do. There are enough cyclists and joggers around that I feel comfortable, especially since Rufus is keeping his distance by staying on the grass, where a young golden retriever is chasing its owner around. The dog reminds me of the Countdowners story I was following when I received my alert, though I'm sure this dog and that one aren't the one and the same. I maintain silence at first because I wanted us to settle in before Rufus explains himself, but deeper we go into the park, the quieter I get because of pure wonder, especially as we stumble into a bronze sculpture of characters from Alice in Wonderland. Dark green leaves crush under my feet as I approach Alice and the White Rabbit and the Mad Hatter. How long has this been here? I'm embarrassed to ask. I'm sure it's not new. I don't know, probably forever, Rufus says. You've never seen it? No, I look up at Alice, who's sitting on a gigantic mushroom. Wow, you're like a tourist in your own city, Rufus says. Except tourists know more about my own city than I do, I say. This is a completely unexpected find. Dad and I prefer Althea Park, but we've spent a lot of time in Central Park too. He loves Shakespeare in the park. Plays aren't really my thing, but I went with him to one, and it was fun for me. Because the theatre reminded me of Colosseums in my favourite fantasy novels and gladiator matches in Rome from movies. I wish I'd discovered this piece of wonderland as a kid so I could have climbed on top of the mushrooms with Alice and imagined adventures of my own. You found it today, Rufus says. That's a win. You're right. I'm still stunned. This has to be here all along. Because when you think of parks, you think of trees and fountains and ponds and playgrounds. It's sort of beautiful how a park can surprise me, and it gives me hope that I can surprise the world too. But not all surprises are welcome. I sit down on a mushroom beside the White Rabbit. Rufus sits next to the Mad Hatter. His silence is awkward one, like those in the history class when we retrieved monumental events from the BDC days. My teacher, Mr. Pond, would tell us how good we got it for having deathcast services. He'd assign us reports where we re-image periods of significant deaths, the plague, the world wars, 9/11, etc., etc., and how people would have behaved had deathcast been around to deliver the warnings. The assignments quite honestly made me feel guilty for growing up at a time with a life-changing advancement. Sort of like how we have medicine to cure common diseases that killed others in the past. You didn't murder anyone, right? I finally asked. There's only one answer there that will get me to stay. The other will get me to call the police so he can be detained before killing anyone else. Of course not. I've set the bar so high it should have been easy enough for him to stay under. Then what? I jumped someone, Rufus says. He's staring straight ahead at his bike parked by the pathway. Amy's new boyfriend. He was mouthing off at me and I was pissed because it felt like my life was ending in a lot of ways. I felt unwanted, frustrated, lost, and I needed to take it out on someone. But that's not me. It was a glitch. I believe him. He's not monstrous. Monsters don't come to your home to help you live. They trap you in your bed and eat you alive. People make mistakes, I say. And my friends are the ones being punished, Rufus says. Their last memory of me will be running out the back door from my own funeral because the cops were coming for me. I left them behind. I've spent the past 4 months feeling abandoned by my family dying, and in a split second I did the same damn thing to my new family. You don't have to tell me more about the accident if you don't want. I say, he feels guilty enough as it is, and just like I wouldn't ever push a homeless person into sharing their story so I can determine whether or not they deserve my charity. I don't need Rufus to jump through any more hoops to keep my trust. I don't want to talk about it, Rufus says, but I have to. Rufus, 7:53 a.m. I'm lucky to have a last friend, especially with my boys locked up and my ex-girlfriend on block. I get to talk about my family and keep them alive. The sky is getting cloudy and some strong breeze comes our way, but no drops of rain yet. My parents woke up to the deathcast alert on May 10th. I'm gutted already. Olivia and I were playing cards when we heard the phone ring, so we rushed to their bedroom. Mum was on the phone and keeping it together while Dad was across the room cursing them out in Spanish and crying. First time I ever saw him cry. That was brutal. It's not like he was mad macho, but I always felt like crying was some little move, which is freaking stupid. Then deathcast. Harold asked to speak with my pops and Mum lost it. It was that this must be a nightmare shit. Nothing scarier than watching your parents freaking out. I was panicking, but I knew I would have Olivia. I wasn't supposed to be alone. Then Deathcast asked to speak with Olivia and my pops hung up and the phone and threw it across the room. I guess throwing phones is in our genes. Matteo is about to ask something but stops. Say it. Never mind, Matteo says. It's not important. Well, I was wondering if you were nervous about being end-listed that day and not knowing. Did you check online database? I know, deathcast.com is helpful that way. Typing up my social security number and not finding my name in the database that evening was a weird sort of relief. It didn't seem right how my family was dying without me. Shit, I make it sound like I was getting left behind from a family vacation on their end day was spent with me already missing them, and Olivia could barely look at me. I get it. It wasn't my fault. I got to keep living, and it wasn't her fault she was dying. Were you too close? Mad close. She was a year older. My parents were saving up money so Olivia and I could attend Antioch University in California this fall. She had a partial scholarship but hung back here at the community college so we wouldn't be separated until I could go with her. My breaths are tight, like when I was laying into Peck earlier. My parents tried convincing Olivia to take off to Los Angeles without me and not to settle out of school in a city she was hating on, but she refused. Every morning, afternoon, evening, I always think she'll still be alive if she'd listened to our parents. She just wanted to reboot our lives together. Olivia is the first person I came out to. Oh, I don't even know if he's playing it off like he doesn't know this from my last friend profile, or if he's impacted by this piece of history between me and my sister, or if he overlooked this on my profile and is some ass who cares about who cares about who other people kiss. I hope not. We're friends now, hands down, and it's not forced. I met this kid a few hours ago because some creative designer somewhere developed an app to forge connections. I'd hate to disconnect. Oh, what? Nothing, honestly. Can I ask you something? Let's get this over with. Did you ever come out to your parents? Matteo asks, avoiding a question with another question. Classic. On our last day together, yeah. I couldn't put it off any longer. My parents had never hugged me like they did on their end day. I'm really proud I spoke up to get that moment out of them. My mum got really sad because she'd never get a chance to meet her future daughter or son-in-law. I was still a little uncomfortable, so I just laughed and asked Olivia if there was anything she wanted us to do, hoping she'd hate me a little less. My parents wanted to ditch me. They were just looking out for you, right? Yeah, but I wanted every possible minute with them, even if it meant being left with them, with the memory of watching them all die in front of me, I say. I didn't know any better. That idiocy died too. What happened? Matteo asks. You don't have to have the details, I say. You might be better off without them. If you have to carry this around, I will too. You asked for it. I tell him everything, how Olivia wanted to go up to one last time to the cabin near Albany, where we always went for a birthday. The roads were slippery on our way upstate, and our car flew into the Hudson River. I sat shotgun because I thought it was bettered our chances of surviving a head-on crash if both my parents were in the front. It didn't matter, same song, different verse, I tell Matteo before going on about screeching tyres, the way we busted through the road safety rail and tumbled into the river. I sometimes forget their voices, I say. It's only 4 months, but that's fact. They blend with voices of people around me, and I couldn't recognise their screams, but I could recognise their screams anywhere. I'm getting goosebumps on my arms thinking about it. You don't have to go on, Rufus says. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have encouraged you to keep talking about it. Mateo knows how this ends, but there's more to it. I stop because he has the basics and I'm crying a little and need to keep my shit together so he doesn't freak out. He places a hand on my shoulder and pats my back and reminds me of all the other seniors who tried comforting me over text and Facebook but didn't know what to say or do because they'd never lose someone the way I had. You're okay, he adds. Let's talk about something else. Like Mateo scans the area around us, birds and beat up buildings, and I straighten up. That was pretty much it anyway. I ended up with Malcolm, Tago and Amiee. We became the Plutos, and that was exactly the kind of company I needed. We were all lost and okay with not being found for a while. I dry my eyes with my fist and shift towards Mateo, and now you're stuck with me until the end. Don't run away again, or you might get kidnapped and find yourself inspiration for some shitty thriller movie. I'm not going anywhere, Mateo says. He has a kind smile. What's next? Game for whatever? Should we go make a moment? I thought we were already making moments, but why not? Mateo, 8:32 a.m. On the way to Make a Moment station, Rufus stops in front of a sporting goods store. In the window there are posters of a man cycling and a woman in ski gear, and a man and a woman running side by side with celebrity smiles and zero sweat. Rufus points at the woman in ski gear. I always sent Olivia photos of people skiing. We went skiing every year up at Wyndham. You're going to think we were stupid for always going back. My pops broke his nose on the first trip by smashing it against a rock. We were really shocked he didn't die, even though death cars hadn't called. My mum sprained her ankle on the next trip. 2 years ago I got a concussion after skiing downhill. I suck at braking and almost ran down some kids, so I switched left at the last second and slammed into a tree like some fucking cartoon character. You're right, I say. I have no idea why you kept going back. Olivia put her foot down after I was admitted to the hospital, but we continued driving up to Wyndham whenever we could because we love the mountains, the snow, and playing games by the fireplace in the cabin. Rufus keeps it moving. I'm hoping this spot is as safe and fun as that was. A few minutes later we reach the Make a Moment station. Rufus stops and takes a picture of the entrance of its blue banner hanging in above the door. No risk, thrills. He uploads it to Instagram in full colour. Look, he hands me his phone. It opens to the comments of his previous picture. People are asking why I'm awake so early. There are a couple of moments from Amiee begging him to pick up his phone. What happened with Amiee? He shakes his head. I'm done with her. Her boy is the reason Malcolm and Mateo are in jail for something I did, and she's still dating him. She's not loyal. It's not because of any feelings you have for her. No, Rufus says. He chains his bike to a parking meter. It doesn't matter if he's telling the truth or not. I drop it and we head inside. I didn't expect this place to look like a travel agency. The wall behind the counter is half sunset orange, half midnight blue, and there are framed photos of people doing different activities, like rock climbing and surfing. It's easy on the eyes, I guess. Behind the counter is a young black woman in her 20s writing in a notebook that she puts away once she sees us. She's in a yellow polo shirt and her name tag reads Deirdre. I've seen this name before, maybe in a fantasy novel. Welcome to Make a Moment, Deirdre says. Not too cheery, not too distant. The right amount of solemn. She doesn't even ask if we're deckers. She slides the binder towards us. There's currently a half-hour wait for the hot air balloon rides and swimming with sharks. Who the hell? Rufus turns to me and then back to Deirdre. Is swimming with sharks something people really feel like they're missing out on? It's a popular attraction, Deirdre says. Wouldn't you swim with sharks if you knew they wouldn't bite you? Rufus sucks his teeth. I don't mess with big bodies of water like that. Deirdre nods as if she understands all of Rufus's history. No problem. I'm here if you have any questions. Rufus and I take a seat and flip through the binder. In addition to hot air balloon rides and swimming with sharks, the station offers skydiving, race car driving, a parkour course, zip lining, horseback riding, base jumping, whitewater rafting, hang gliding, ice rock climbing, downhill mountain biking, windsurfing and tons more. I wonder if the business will ever expand to fictional thrills like running away from dragons, fighting a cyclops and magic carpet rides. We won't be around to know. I shake it off. You want to try mountain biking, I ask. He loves biking and there's no water involved. Nah, I want to do something new. How do you feel about skydiving? Dangerous, I say, but tell my story if this goes south. I wouldn't be surprised if I managed to die in a place that promises risk-free thrills. You got it. Deirdre gives us 6-page long waiver, which isn't uncommon for businesses serving deckers, but also definitely not uncommon for that we skim the form, because it's not as if we're going to be around to sue them if something does go wrong. There's so many freak accidents that can happen at any point. Every new minute we're alive is a miracle. Rufus's signature is messy. I can make out only the first 2 letters before the remaining letters get lost in curves that look like a sales chart for a business that is rising and failing regularly. Okay, I've signed away my right to bitch if I die. Deirdre doesn't laugh. We pay $240 each, the kind of price you can get away with charging people whose savings accounts would go to waste otherwise. Follow me. The long hallway reminds me of the storage centre where Dad worked, except inside the lockers there weren't happy screams and laughter. At least none that I'd ever heard of. Kidding. These rooms were like karaoke rooms, except some are twice, even 3 times as big. I peek in each window as we go down the hall, zigzagging like a pinball, finding deckers with goggles in every room. Some are sitting inside race cars that are shaking but not speeding down the racetracks. One decker is rock climbing while an employee in the room texts away. A couple are kissing in a hot air balloon that is hovering 6 feet but not in the sky. A crying man without goggles is holding the back of a laughing girl on top of a horse, and I can't tell which one of them is the decker or if it's both, but it makes me so sad that I stop looking into the rooms. Our room isn't very large, but there are huge vents, safety mats leaning against the wall, and an instructor who's dressed like an aviator, with her curly brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. We dress up in matching gear and harnesses. The 3 of us are looking like X-Men cosplayers, and Rufus asks the young woman, Madeline, to take a photo of us. I don't know if I should wrap my arm around him, so I follow his lead, placing my hands on my waist. This is good, Madeline asks, holding the phone out. Is this good? We look at like we mean serious business, like we refuse to die until we save the world from all its ugliness. Dope, Rufus says. I can take more photos while you're diving. That'd be cool. Madeline breaks it down for us how this works. We'll put on the goggles, the virtual experience will begin, and the room itself will play its own role in making this feel as real as possible. Madeline locks in our harnesses to spend hooks, and we climb a ladder up to a plank that looks like a diving board, except we're only about 6 feet above the floor. When you're ready, press the button on your goggles and jump, Madeline says, dragging the mats under us. You'll be fine. She turns on the high-powered vents and the room becomes a loud wind. Ready? Rufus mouths to me, dropping his goggles over his eyes. I do the same with my goggles and nod. I click the green button by the lens. The virtual reality kicks in. We're inside a plane with an open door, and a three-dimensional man is giving me the thumbs up to jump into the open blue sky. I'm scared to jump. Not out of the plane, but into the actual open space before me. My harness might break, even though I feel 100% secure. Rufus shouts for a few seconds, descends a couple of feet away from me, and then goes quiet. I lift my goggles away from my eyes, hoping I don't find Rufus on the floor with a twisted neck, but he's hovering in the air, being so blown side to side by wind from the vents. I shouldn't be seeing Rufus like this, but I had to know he was okay, even if it ruins the experience a little bit. I still want that same exhilaration Rufus experienced. So I put the goggles back on and count down from 3 and jump. I'm weightless as I hug my arms to my chest, like I'm speeding down a tunnel slide instead of free falling through the cloud after cloud, which I suppose I'm not actually doing either. I stretch my arms out, trying to touch the wisps at the end of the multiple clouds, as if I can actually grab one and roll it around my hands like a snowball. A couple of minutes later, the magic wears off. I see the green field approaching, and I know I should be relieved I'm almost there. But I'm almost safe again, but there was never any true danger in the first place. It's not exciting, it's too safe. It's exactly what I signed up for. Virtual Matteo lands right as I do, my feet digging into the mat. I force a smile for Rufus, who smiles back at me. We thank Madeline for her help, take off the aviator gear and let ourselves out. That was fun, right? I say. We should have waited to swim with sharks, Rufus says, as we pass Deirdre and leave. Thank you, Deirdre, I say. Congratulations on making a moment, Deirdre says, waving. It's odd to be praised for living, but I guess she can't exactly encourage us to come again. I nod at her and follow Rufus out. I thought you had fun. You cheered. He's removing the chain from the bike and no one stole, unfortunately. For the main jump, yeah, it got whack after that. Did you actually like that? No judgment, yes. No judgment, except yes judgment. I felt the same as you. It was your idea, Rufus says, walking his bike down the block. You don't get any more ideas today. Sorry. I'm kidding, dude. It was interesting, but low casualties are the one thing this place has going for it. And that sort of risk-free fun isn't really fun at all. We should have read reviews before dropping bank on it. There aren't that many reviews online, I say. When your experience is exclusive for deckers, not many reviews are to be expected. I mean, I can't imagine any decker who would spend precious time praising their bad or bad-mouthing the foundation. And I really am sorry, not because we wasted money, but because we wasted time. Rufus stops and pulls out his phone. It wasn't a waste of time. He shows me the photo of us in our gear and uploads it to Instagram. He tags it #lastfriend. I might get 10 likes out of this. And we'll stop it there. Lydia Vargas next. Alright, well, that's another video for today. They will get posted this afternoon and I will be back with chapter 12 soon. Bye.